The first thing Captain Mara Ven noticed was not the gun aimed at her heart, or the alien nobles, or the princess standing above her in a crown made from stolen stars. It was the lie in Princess Alira's voice. Small, polished, perfect. But Mara heard it because 3 years ago, beneath Earth's burning embassy, she had taught that frightened alien girl how to lie and survive. Everyone believed the human guard was finished. The Verikai Empire had dragged her from a prison ship in chains, forced her to kneel before the sapphire throne. Behind her stood blade bearers. Above her circled drones, and in front of her, Princess Alira declared that Mara had murdered the Emperor and betrayed the peace treaty. Her voice was calm, her eyes were cold, her posture was royal. And every noble leaned forward to watch a human finally break, but Mara only lifted her head, blood at her mouth, wrists locked in grav cuffs, and studied the princess. Never lie with your mouth if your hands are still telling the truth. The court heard treason. Mara heard help me. Alira's fingers were hidden inside her sleeves, but her left thumb tapped once against her wrist, then twice, then paused. Not fear. Code. Old human field code. The kind Mara had taught her at Hallian Gate when Alira was 17 and hunted by her uncle's assassins. Back then, she was a shaking girl behind a collapsed medical bay, silver blood on her dress, begging not to be handed over. Mara had given her a knife, a coat, and humanity's first lesson. Stand up when fear tells you to crawl for 60 days. Mara taught her how to patch wounds with tape. Fire a pistol, lie to scanners, lie to killers, and lie to herself just long enough to keep moving when rescue came. The alien princess could smile while bleeding and look a murderer in the eyes without blinking. So now, when Alira accused Mara of regicide, Mara did not hear betrayal. She heard a battlefield calling her name. Lord Varish rose beside the throne and announced that the human prisoner would die at moonrise, that Alira's testimony proved humanity had planned the assassination, and that the Empire would answer with war. The nobles hissed approval. Fleets would move, planets would burn. Billions would die, because one human guard had supposedly killed the galaxy's most protected ruler. Mara almost smiled. It was too clean. Real violence left panic and missing minutes. But this case had been arranged for obedience, not truth, and the Empire had made one fatal mistake. They thought a guard was only someone who stood at doors. Alira's thumb moved again. 3 taps. 1 tap, 3 taps. Chamber compromised. Vorish controls guards. Mara lowered her gaze so the camera saw surrender, but inside, every human instinct woke up. Count exits, measure weapons, identify the liar, protect the kid. Then she raised her voice. Princess, do you swear this testimony is yours? The nobles erupted. A guard struck her across the face. But Alira answered before Varesh could stop her. Yes, every word is mine, another lie. And this one carried a scar on Hallian Gate. Alira had once claimed she was fine while hiding a broken rib. And every time she said mine, her right shoulder stiffened. Now that same shoulder stiffened again. That was the moment the humans stopped kneeling. The blade bearers moved first. But human training is rude, fast, and unfair. Mara slammed her bound wrists into the nearest visor, dropped under the spear line, broke a knee with her shoulder, and used the grav cuffs like a steel bar. Varish shouted for lethal fire, drones dipped, nobles screamed. But Alira moved too, not like a princess. Like a girl from a burned embassy corridor, she let her royal sash fall, whipped it around a guard's throat, stole his sidearm, and shot the drone cluster before anyone understood royalty had become dangerous. The court saw chaos, Mara saw choreography, survival drills becoming muscle memory, and for 4 perfect seconds, the chamber belonged to no empire. Only to a human guard and the student she had refused to abandon. Varish ran for the private lift. Mara hurled a fallen spear through the control panel and trapped him there. Then the old minister made the mistake humans are always waiting for. He admitted the truth. He called Illyra an ungrateful child, called humans disease, called the dead emperor weak for seeking peace with Earth, then confessed that he had killed his own ruler to stop a treaty that would end his wars. He feared alliance with humans, feared the species that did not conquer by divine blood or ancient throne, but by refusing again and again to stay defeated, too late. He realized that damaged drones were still transmitting to every command ship in orbit, and the chamber fell silent. The heavy kind of silence that comes when an empire realizes the enemy was never outside its walls. Illyra raised the stolen sidearm. Her hand shook, so Mara stepped beside her. Not in front, beside her, Varish looked from the princess to the human and understood what fear had never taught him. Loyalty is not manufactured by power. Obedience's loyalty is built in hunger, pain, shared danger. And the hand that pulls you from rubble when every law says you are enemies? Mara spoke softly. You do not have to lie anymore. Illyra fired once, not at Varesh's heart, but at the floor beside him, close enough to make him fall, far enough to leave him alive for trial, because Mara had taught her one final human lesson. Justice is stronger when it can look the guilty in the face. Hours later, the war fleet stood down. The forged evidence was exposed, and every world watched the recording of their princess fighting beside the human she had accused. Some called it scandal. Soldiers called it proof, because soldiers understand what nobles forget. The person who teaches survival becomes part of your blood, even if their skin and stars are different. When Illyra removed Mara's cuffs, she whispered that she was sorry. Mara only rubbed her wrists and said, Your thumb code was sloppy. For the first time since the Emperor died, Illyra laughed. And when the human guard walked out beside the new Empress, every noble stepped back, because humans may guard doors, ships, children, promises, and even enemies. But when a human teaches someone to stand, not even an empire can make them kneel again.